Imagine this: a secluded cabin deep in the forest, listed on Airbnb, offering a serene escape from the chaos of city life. The description highlights its tranquility, breathtaking nature views, and promises the perfect getaway for those seeking peace. But sometimes peace can be a prelude to something far more sinister. Our tale begins with a solo traveler named Mark, a writer always searching for inspiration in the most remote places. When he discovered the cabin's listing, he believed it would be the ideal spot to finish his latest novel. The reviews were glowing, and the pictures showed a cozy, well-maintained retreat surrounded by dense forest. Upon arrival, Mark found the cabin even more charming than he had imagined. The host, an elderly man named Mr. Harper, greeted him warmly and handed over the keys. "Enjoy your stay," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Mark shrugged it off, eager to begin his writing retreat. The first day was peaceful. Mark wrote for hours, inspired by the natural beauty surrounding the cabin. As dusk fell, he lit a fire in the fireplace and settled in for a quiet evening. But as night deepened, an unsettling feeling crept in. The silence was too profound, almost oppressive. Mark shook off the unease, attributing it to the unfamiliar surroundings. In the middle of the night, Mark was jolted awake by a loud noise. It sounded like footsteps on the wooden porch. Heart-pounding, he grabbed a flashlight and cautiously approached the door. He peered outside, but the beam of light revealed nothing but shadows. Deciding it was just an animal, he went back to bed. The next day, Mark discovered something strange. On the kitchen table lay a vintage leather-bound journal that he hadn't noticed before. Curious, he opened it and began to read. The journal belonged to a previous guest, a woman named Laura, who had stayed at the cabin a year ago. Her entries started off cheerful, but grew increasingly frantic. Laura wrote about hearing strange noises at night and seeing shadowy figures lurking in the forest. Her last entry was chilling. "They come at night, I can't escape. If you find this journal, leave while you can." Mark's blood ran cold. He searched the cabin but found no signs of Laura or any clues to what might have happened to her. Determined not to let paranoia get the best of him, he decided to stay another night, rationalizing that it was just a spooky story. That night, the noises returned, louder and more insistent. Footsteps circled the cabin, accompanied by whispers that seemed to seep through the walls. Mark's fear mounted as he realized the sounds were not outside, but inside the cabin. He locked himself in the bedroom, clutching the journal as if it could protect him. Suddenly, the bedroom door rattled violently, and a shadowy figure appeared in the doorway. Mark's flashlight flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. He could feel the presence closing in on him, cold air brushing against his skin. Desperate, Mark remembered Laura's warning. He mustered the courage to sprint towards the front door, the shadowy figure close behind. He burst out of the cabin and into the forest, running blindly through the trees until he reached his car. He didn't stop driving until he was miles away, his heart still racing. The next morning, Mark reported the incident to the local authorities, but they found no trace of Mr. Harper or the shadowy figures. The cabin was empty, and Laura's journal had disappeared. Mark's story was met with skepticism, and the listing for the cabin quietly vanished from Airbnb. So, dear viewers, as you plan your next escape, remember that sometimes solitude can hide the darkest secrets. Stay cautious, trust your instincts, and never ignore the warnings of those who came before you. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and may your travels never lead you into the heart of darkness. Imagine this: a group of friends eager for adventure. decides to go camping in a remote forest, far from the trappings of modern life. The forest is known for its pristine beauty and untouched wilderness, but it also harbors an eerie reputation. Whispers of disappearances and ghostly apparitions surround the area, but the friends dismiss these as mere campfire stories. Our story begins with 5 friends: Sarah, Jake, Emily, Tom, and Lisa. They were all seasoned campers, confident in their skills and excited about spending a weekend away from their hectic lives. They chose a spot deep within the forest, a place where few dared to venture. As they set up camp, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, as if the forest itself was watching them. The first day was filled with laughter and exploration. They hiked through the dense woods, marveling at the towering trees and the serene silence. As night fell, they gathered around the campfire, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows. The atmosphere was cozy, but the surrounding darkness felt heavy, almost suffocating. As the night grew darker, they heard a distant sound, like a mournful wail carried by the wind. The friends fell silent, straining to listen, but the sound faded as quickly as it had appeared. Jake laughed nervously, attributing it to an animal call, and the group resumed their chatter. But the unease lingered. In the middle of the night, Sarah woke up with a start. She had heard a soft whisper calling her name. She glanced around the tent, but her friends were all asleep. She stepped outside, the cold night air biting at her skin. The forest was still except for the rustling of leaves. Suddenly, she saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the campsite just beyond the firelight. It was tall and unmoving, watching her. Heart pounding, she backed into the tent and woke Jake, telling him what she had seen. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside, but the figure was gone. The next morning, Sarah's story was met with skepticism. The group decided to stick together for the day's hike, hoping to shake off the previous night's fears. As they trekked deeper into the forest, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. It was dilapidated, with vines creeping up its walls and broken windows that seemed to stare back at them. Curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to explore the cabin. Inside, it was dark and musty, filled with cobwebs and dust. On a table in the center of the room lay an old map of the forest, marked with strange symbols. Emily, who had a keen interest in history, recognized them as ancient runes used in rituals. A sense of dread washed over the group as they realized they might have stumbled upon something far more sinister than they had anticipated. That night, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. Each of them heard their names being called, luring them into the forest. They huddled together in the tent, trying to ignore the eerie voices. Suddenly, the tent was ripped open, and a cold wind swept through, extinguishing their fire. The shadowy figure stood at the entrance, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Panic set in as the friends scrambled to escape. They ran through the forest, the figure pursuing them silently. Branches clawed at their clothes and faces as they fled, the whispers growing louder, now mixed with sinister laughter. One by one, they became separated in the darkness. Sarah and Jake managed to find each other and stumbled upon an old stone circle, similar to the one marked on the map they had found in the cabin. Desperate, they entered the circle, hoping it would offer some protection. The shadowy figure halted at the edge, unable to enter. They spent the night huddled together, the whispers and laughter echoing around them. At dawn, the forest was silent once more. They cautiously made their way back to the campsite, finding it deserted. There was no sign of Emily, Tom, or Lisa. Sarah and Jake fled the forest, reporting the incident to the authorities. Despite an extensive search, No trace of their friends was ever found, and the abandoned cabin seemed to vanish without a trace. So, dear viewers, remember that some places are best left unexplored. The forest may seem inviting, but it can hide dark secrets and ancient horrors. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and never underestimate the power of the unknown. Until next time, be careful where you wander, for you may never find your way back. Imagine this: a remote village nestled at the edge of an ancient forest shrouded in mystery and folklore. The villagers speak in hushed tones about the forest, warning travelers to stay away, especially at night. Legends tell of a malevolent spirit known as the Hollow Man, who preys on those who dare to enter his domain. Our story begins with Anna, a young woman with a passion for photography. Intrigued by the tales of the forest and determined to capture its beauty, she decides to spend a weekend in the village. Despite the villagers' warnings, she plans to venture into the forest to document its secrets. Anna arrives in the village on a sunny afternoon. The villagers are friendly but wary, repeatedly urging her to stay away from the forest. Undeterred, Anna checks into a quaint bed and breakfast run by an elderly woman named Mrs. Morgan, who also advises her to heed the warnings. "The forest is not safe," Mrs. Morgan says, her eyes filled with concern. "Many have entered, but few have returned." The first day, Anna explores the village and its surroundings, taking pictures and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. As dusk falls, she sits in the village square, listening to the locals share stories about the Hollow Man. According to legend, he was a cruel man who, centuries ago, betrayed his people and was cursed to wander the forest forever, seeking vengeance on any who cross his path. That night, Anna can't shake the feeling of being watched. Her room at the bed and breakfast, though cozy, seems to close in on her. The wind outside whispers through the trees, creating an eerie symphony that lulls her into a restless sleep. The next morning, Anna rises early, her excitement outweighing her fear. Armed with her camera and a sense of adventure, she sets off into the forest. The dense canopy filters the sunlight, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Anna marvels at the beauty around her, snapping photos of ancient trees, vibrant mushrooms, and hidden streams. Hours pass, and as the light begins to fade, Anna realizes she has ventured deeper into the forest than intended. She turns to head back but finds the path indistinguishable from the surrounding foliage. Panic begins to set in as she realizes she is lost. The whispers in the wind grow louder, more insistent, and the temperature drops suddenly. As night falls, Anna stumbles upon an old, decrepit cabin hidden among the trees. Desperate for shelter, she cautiously approaches and pushes open the creaking door. Inside, the air is stale and cold. The cabin is furnished with antique furniture, covered in dust and cobwebs. In the center of the room stands a large, ornate mirror, its surface tarnished with age. Anna feels an inexplicable pull towards the mirror. As she wipes away the grime, her reflection morphs into the image of a tall, gaunt figure with hollow eyes. The Hollow Man. Frozen with terror, she watches as the figure steps out of the mirror and into the room. The Hollow Man speaks in a voice that echoes with centuries of pain and anger. "You have trespassed in my domain," he hisses. "Now you will join the others." With a flick of his hand, the cabin transforms into a nightmarish landscape of twisted trees and grasping shadows. Anna tries to run, but the shadows close in, dragging her towards the mirror. Just as she is about to be pulled through, she remembers her camera. In a desperate act, She raises it and snaps a photo of the hollow man. The flash of light seems to stun him, and the shadows momentarily retreat. Seizing the opportunity, Anna breaks free and sprints out of the cabin, guided by the fading light of the setting sun. Breathless and terrified, she eventually finds her way back to the village. The villagers are shocked to see her, having feared the worst. Anna recounts her ordeal, showing them the photo she took. The image clearly captures the hollow man, his hollow eyes staring back with malevolent intent. The villagers, now convinced of the danger, decide to take action. Led by Mrs. Morgan, they form a group to cleanse the forest of the hollow man's curse. Anna joins them, determined to help despite her fear. Together they venture into the forest, armed with torches and ancient rituals passed down through generations. In a climactic confrontation, the villagers surround the cabin, chanting incantations to banish the hollow man. The air grows thick with tension as the hollow man appears, his form flickering between the shadows. With one final, powerful incantation, the villagers manage to trap the spirit back into the mirror, sealing it with a protective charm. The forest, once dark and foreboding, begins to lighten as the curse is lifted. Anna's bravery and the villagers' determination have freed the forest from the hollow man's grasp. She stays in the village for a few more days, documenting the now peaceful forest and sharing her story with the world. So, dear viewers, remember that some legends are rooted in truth. The next time you hear a local warning, take it seriously. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and remember that even in the darkest places, courage and unity can banish the most malevolent of spirits. Until next time, be mindful of where you wander, for not every path leads back to safety.